Good afternoon, everybody. I'm Dr. Damian Dressick, and I'm here to talk to you today about making the journey from writer to published author. And the sort of subtitle of my talk is Literary Citizenship and Submission Strategy. So I strongly suspect that all of you who are participating in today's Watershed Journal Conference are interested in writing and interested also in getting that writing out to be read by other people. And I'd like to talk a little bit about how to make that happen for you. Probably the most important thing I can say to you, and I've got a whole stack of tips, and then kind of go from that literary citizenship to much more tactical things about submission. You know what? I bet before you want to hear about my advice, you'd like to know a little bit about me, so you can think, why do I want to hear this guy's advice? Maybe he's never published anything. This is my novel that just came out. It's called 40 Patchtown. It was released by Bottom Dog Press just this year. According to Pickney Benedict, it's as fine a first novel as one could hope for. He says this on the cover, and I only owe him a car for it. Karen Zacharias says that I am the freshest voice to come out of Appalachia since Wiley Cash and Silas House. I only had to give her dinner, like certificates for dinner. I wrote this book, and it is set during the 1922 coal strike in Western Pennsylvania. For those of you who are interested in Western Pennsylvania history, you might enjoy it. I'm also the author of the experimental story collection, Fables of the Deconstruction, which is forthcoming next January from Clash Books in New York. I'm the winner of the Jesse Stewart Prize and the Harriet Arno Award. My fiction has appeared in more than 50 literary journals and anthologies, including W.W. Norton's New Micro, magazines like Post Road, Fail Better, Cut Bank, Hobart, New Orleans Review, Smoke On Quarterly, New World Writing. Been a finalist for some other things. I've been a residency fellow somewhere. So I have some experience with all sorts of stuff. And along with Christina Fasonic, who is my producer for this segment and is going to be doing a little bit of a conversation back and forth with me toward the end, I co-curate and co-host Wacona Live. It's an online reading series bringing Appalachian writers to thousands of viewers every single month on Facebook. I also teach writing at Clarion University of Pennsylvania, and I can be found online at www.damiandressick.com. So that's a little bit about this. That bio sounds a lot less weird when somebody else is saying good things about you. Sounds horrible saying all that stuff about yourself. One of the things that I can't help but stress enough, and there's a whole laundry list of ways that you are going to want to get involved with this, is participate in the literary community. You don't want to approach your becoming an author as if you're, say, a teenager who only talks to their parents when they want to borrow the car. You're only reaching out to journals, to reading series, places when you want something from them. So participate in the literary community in more than just as somebody who's trying to get something out of it. One of the most important ways to do this, and it's going to make your life, and it's all wrapped together, it's going to make your life a lot easier as a writer, is the first thing I cannot say enough about is read literary journals, and read a lot of literary journals. This should be something that you're thoroughly engaged in, and read literary magazines, and also, familiarize yourself with the fiction in places like the New Yorker, Harper's, The Atlantic, Granta, these sort of like really high profile, you can kind of understand who's doing what and what's being done. But also reaching out to journals like Subtropics, really, really, really amazing work coming out of here. Places like the Kenyon Review, Witness, another great literary journal I can't say enough about. But not every journal is the same. So find the ones that you like. And also I say, find ones that are maybe a little more approachable or a little more, you know, no, I think approachable is not the wrong word. Approachable than, you know, the ones that are publishing people with Pulitzer Prizes. For instance, Kudzu is a journal I particularly like. Comes out of Hazard Community and Technical College in Hazard, Kentucky. I actually have work in here. So find these journals, read them, subscribe to them. This I can't say enough how important this is. A, it gives you a sense of what's going on in the literary world. Also, you helping by being a paid subscriber, you're helping to support these particular journals. Find the ones that you like. I've got a whole stack of journals here that just, you know, reading these relatively consistently. Black Warrior Review. Gotta love Black Warrior Review. It also gives you a sense of what journals are publishing what kinds of things. For example, if you have a journal like Barrel House, you know, and you're trying to send them a particular kind of story. Oh, well, hey, if you're reading them on a consistent basis, you might realize that their motto is Pop Flotsam Cultural Jetsam. So that historical story you've written about being in California in the 1850s as a prospector, perhaps not exactly what they're looking for. So this gives you a sense of you know, what's going on, not only in the literary world overall, but also in these particular journals. So read literary journals. Make this a part of your daily life. Now, you may say to me, man, I ain't got no money. Could you subscribe to this, subscribe to that? You know, I'm broke. I'm a student. I'm poor. I have children. Yes. So what I would advocate then is read literary journals online. There are no shortage of publications that are, at this point, either exclusively online or have a print and online component. Often journals will sometimes do an annual print edition, and they'll do a quarterly or even a daily update for various online content. For instance, a great journal that I like a lot. This is originally established by John Wang out of University of Southern Mississippi. Really great journal called Juked. John is no longer there. He's now the editor of the Potemkin Review. But they have such a great sensibility. Love Juked. But they also have an online component where, oh, this is their annual, and they're producing something that you're able to get, like, oh, hey, they're producing this content, you know, week in, week out. So maybe we can, maybe if you go to www.juke.com, you will find them. I'm going to be a little bit more reticent in terms of sharing some screen stuff with y'all, because frankly, with the software, it's I'm afraid I might disappear. So yeah, read journals online. I mean, especially if you're a fiction writer, you want to write things that are what regarded as flash fiction or microfiction. Looking at journals like Smoke Long Quarterly, Wigleaf. These are really great places to see really good writing, some of the best writing that's going on right now in the world for free. You're not paying a nickel. The other thing that I wanted to, so that journals, online, in print, good stuff. The other thing I wanted to talk about is websites that help you to apprehend the literary world. And some of you might think, oh, do you mean Poets and Writers? Poets and Writers is a great thing. Don't want to say anything bad about it. Love Poets and Writers. Think they bring a lot of tips, and they have got some great information. People might say Publishers Weekly. Again, if you're shopping a novel, maybe this is helpful stuff. Especially if you have a novel out, you want to kind of understand that world in the businessy sort of way. Sure. But what I was really thinking of, I'm going to try and share my screen, and let's hope it doesn't turn into a disaster. So I'm going to go to a Chrome tab here for, this is a site called Electric Literature, and it's presenting some articles about writing. You can see like 20 new Asian American books to read right now, 7 books about confinement and the need to escape, an outbreak of laughter threatens to destroy the world. Talking about first person plural. We can also look at, oh look, they've got reading lists. So, 7 flash fiction stories, books about female standards of beauty, what we need to. So there's a host of good information. And what I think this does, this serves to keep your head in the game. I mean, a lot of being a writer is about how much of your headspace you'll give over to participation in this endeavor. If you're, and I'm not saying it's like a thing you have to work every day, or, I mean, it helps, but maybe one's life gets in the middle of that. But it is a question of, I think, unless you've already invested a very large amount of time, the idea that you're going to sit down and commit an act of great literature when you're only working a couple hours a month and not really thinking about the stories you want to tell, the essays you want to write, or how other people are doing this, what's going on in that world, I think the likelihood is somewhat less. Let's see what their lit mag lists look like. So see how this is also a little tied together. Recommended reading. Look at that. So there's a whole host of stuff here. News. So that's one of them. That's Electric Literature. Perhaps another one we could take a quick peek at is the Rumpus, which they often have interviews with various authors. I have no idea what the heck that is. There we go. Interviews with authors, what to read when you want to celebrate heritage, steel toe books. It was an ad. So there's, again, you're kind of getting, you're letting the world of literature take over your head, and these are the tools that might just bring that about. Keeping. I think we're reading constantly on our phones, and if this is what you're reading, I think it'll make it easier to be involved in the world of literature than if you're reading crochet tips or details on who's going to be the breakout stars in the NFL in 2021. You know what I mean? Keeping your head in the game. One other final place I did want to bring up is the Literary Hub. So all 3 of these are really good, and there are a whole host of growing up in Appalachia. Fiction, poetry, craft and criticism, news and culture, Lit Hub Radio, so you get some podcast and stuff, bunch of reading lists. So there's a whole host of information out there to keep your head in the game. So that's something else I wanted to sort of stress. It is actively read literary magazines, actively read literary journals online. And there are at least 3 or 4 or 5, 6, 7, 8 probably sites that you're going to get that sort of daily dose of information. LitHub does a LitHub daily feature where you get something shot right to your email box. Like, oh, what's going on? Oh, look, it's the 50th anniversary of the death of this person, and there's 5 little brief essays about them. It keeps your head in the game. So that's one of the first ways I would say participate in the literary community. Support journals by reading them and by subscribing to them, and actively engage with some of this other stuff. Second thing, go to readings. At the moment, it's going to be likely, due to present circumstances, virtual readings. Be a presence. Support your fellow writers. I have a friend, she runs one of the series in Pittsburgh, and we were shooting The Breeze one day, and she said that nothing bothers me more than having somebody come up to me and ask if they can be a reader at the series when I have never seen them come out to support another author at any other series in Pittsburgh. It's not like, oh, they didn't come to mine. It's like I go to a lot of this stuff, and it's that don't be a kid who is only approaching their parents when they want the keys to the car and money for gas. If you're going to readings consistently, and if people see you like, oh, hey, this person has a book coming out, this person is giving a reading, then I know it's hard. I know getting babysitters and all that stuff is a bit of a challenge sometimes. One of the things that's going on now is so many of these readings are virtual that you don't really have to make the same kind of commitment in terms of time and energy. By the way, you're thinking to yourself, I bet, well, yeah, he's saying readings, but how do I even find out who's reading, where, what kind of readings are going on? So I thought, now this is, I'm going to be honest, this is relatively Pittsburgh-centric information, which I'm going to talk about a site called Litzberg. For those of you who do not know about Litzberg, if you think nothing else, and you're close enough to Pittsburgh to get there, you're going to think, even if I'm the most uninteresting speaker you've ever encountered, there's at least 3 or 4 things that other people have done that I'm going to tell you about. If you didn't know about them, you'll consider this well-used time. So if we take a look at this, Litzberg, everything that is going on in Pittsburgh, in literary Pittsburgh, people, places, presses, literary organizations, they're only listing virtual online events. But so look at this. Every June 3rd, Write Pittsburgh, Common Reads, webinars, creative nonfiction, no matter whether you want to write detective fiction, detective or crime fiction, whatever you're interested in, there's stuff going on in Western Pennsylvania. Science fiction, fantasy, horror, Lit Fridays online at the August Wilson African American Cultural Center. So there's all kinds of cool stuff. Litzberg, a great amalgamation of all the things happening in literary Pittsburgh. The other thing I would say to you, if you're trying to get to this place where you get to be somebody, you want to give readings, you want to participate in things like that, go to bookstores and get to know the people who run particularly indie bookstores. One of the other, like in terms of lists of cool stuff going on, is going to be at, well, it's going to take me a second to pull that one up. But well, maybe I'm just going to skip that. But the White Whale Bookstore also has a lovely selection of events. And actually, we have reading. There's a virtual. They do a series called Laser Cat, which is now a Vaser Cat. They're doing this sort of virtual series thing. So that's just good. Check out White Whale Bookstore. They've been sponsoring all these events. Get your tickets via Eventbrite. There are other bookstores that are doing the same thing. Check out your bookstores. Your bookstores Facebook. Oops. Your bookstore's website and see what they're doing. So it also gives you a chance to see what people are doing. Some of this is just being present at literary, but I can't tell you the degree to which I'm inspired by going to see amazing readers read really cool stuff. I think it's very energizing as a writer. The other thing is go to conferences. Go to, be aware of residency programs. And you may say, well, what is a residency? Well, a residency is often they involve a set amount of time in which you would go to a particular place, either perhaps by yourself, they work very differently, or with a group of other writers, and have opportunity to be protected from all the chaos of one's life, and concentrate on your craft. Like some of the more famous residencies, I'm not sure. I'm wondering what people have heard of, what they haven't. Gatto is probably one of the most famous. I'm going to pull up the screen for that. I hope. There we go. So this is Yaddo, and it is one of the most famous residencies. There's also the McDowell Colony. There's information about applying. And some of these are very fancy. And quite frankly, challenging to get into. Yaddo McDowell Colony. But those are, before you say, oh, this is not for me, I'm starting out, there are a lot of other residencies that are significantly less. They're as good for your work, but they might not be as difficult to get into. There are sites that talk about various percentages of acceptance, but I did a residency recently at it's called the Orchard Keepers Residency. It's run by Denton Loving. It's a one person at a time in his farm in Tennessee. There's a trailer home, and you're basically able to really concentrate on your work without the distractions of reality. So I think that's another really key thing, and just being able to check out what residencies exist. I'm going to get to something that's going to help you all with that. The other thing is work on your work. And this is another, participate in that literary community, do good work. How do you improve your work? Get feedback. Some of you guys have maybe done MFAs or are interested in MFAs. That's a whole separate conversation. But I would say join a writer's group. And there are two that I'm going to talk about here. The Bridge Literary Arts Center offers free workshops. Watershed Journal is doing some cool things. I'm a little new to this one, but I've heard some good things about the Stained Glass Writers. So those are three of the groups that are relatively proximate to, in terms of region, that it is possible to participate in, where you're getting feedback and you're also engaging with other people. I mean, when a while ago, when I lived a little closer, I was working with the Ligonier Valley writers, and every week you're working with people, trying to let them help you and you help them. And one of the key things that faculty members of graduate workshops will tell you is the meaningful learning that happens in these isn't when people go over your pieces. It's when you go over other people's pieces, because you're not emotionally connected to the writing. So you say, oh, my writing, I worked really hard on this and it must be very good. I mean, some part of you, of course, thinks this. But you look at somebody else's work, you're like, oh man, look at this mistake, this mistake, this mistake, this mistake. And you eventually have this horrible epiphany where you go, oh my God, that terrible thing that Bob did, that's on like page 5 of my story, and 5 and 6 and 7. Oh man, I got to fix that. So that constantly working with others can be super helpful. One of the other things that are going on, you can work with, especially in the time of COVID, you can work with some very fancy people. Sewanee, which is a writers conference, is offering master's classes right now. They're not insignificantly. It is not a nominal fee, but I noticed one of the people with whom people got the opportunity to work with is Joe McCorkle. So it's like, oh, I can do. I mean, I might not know Joe McCorkle. I'm not anywhere near her in terms of geography, but I can join this class at Sewanee. That's SEWANEE, SewaneeWriters.org, and then I'll give you some more information. Also, Grub Street is doing some good stuff online. And if you're an older person, the Osher programs, and those at the University of Pittsburgh, often bring in very talented writers for not a lot of money to help seniors develop as writers. It's a really cool thing. I was an instructor there for a little while. A lot of fun. So that is my quick and dirty on participation in the literary community. So the next thing we're, I think, going to talk about, and this is maybe what some of you all have been waiting for, is submission strategy. it's hard. I'm not going to lie. Being a writer, it's almost like you have to bifurcate yourself into two people. There's one of you is this person who's creating these literary artifacts, who's attempting to assemble meaning through language, who's putting words on paper, and you're trying to, I don't know, build a bridge between you and the world through the written word. And so that's in one box. The other part of you is somebody who's a lot more like a business person. And it's about getting things off your computer into the wider world. So how do you go about doing that? Well, one, and these things are, like I said, they're sort of tied together, that literary community. One, figure out where to submit. If you're reading all these journals and you're reading all this online stuff and paying attention to things, it's like, oh, this journal is publishing work like mine in some way. If you have these like wildly experimental stories and you're sending to a very conventional journal, you're not going to get very far. And vice versa. If you're sending very conventional stories to a journal that only takes wildly experimental work, again, you're not going to get very far. So one of the things I wanted to share with you, and this is, you'll be, nothing will make you happier than this if you don't know it already. If you do, you're already well ahead of the game. If you'll just bear with me for 1 sec, aha. Okay. So there's a literary journal called Entropy, which is a great literary journal. They publish often excellent work. But this is the other thing I'm going to tell you about, is this beautiful thing, where to submit. This is truly awesome. So if you look at this, where to submit, you can see where to submit presents April virtual readings, where to submit March, April, and May. So these come out quarterly. And if you go through this is so beautiful. Because trying to keep, I just did these myself, pure. It took me 4 40-hour weeks to assemble it's outdated, so I can't use it anymore. It's about 10 years ago. To assemble a complete database of what was open for submissions when. So if you look at this is presses. So let's say you have a book with deadlines. So you kind of want to pay attention the first, as soon as you possibly can. Oh, look, Autumn House Press, Bitter Oleander, the Bellevue Literary Press, Black Lawrence Press, Blaze Vox. There's all these presses that are doing stuff. So if you have a book of poetry, book of essays, book of fiction. Some of you guys might have novels you're working on. So, these are all the places that are looking for novels from like really fancy places, like Red Hen. I mean, they're publishing major American writers. Spite and Dival, another good press, but not affiliated. University of North Texas Press, the Catherine Ann Porter Prize. University of Pittsburgh, the Drew Hines Prize. Oh, wait, maybe you don't have a whole book. Maybe you've only got a chapbook. Here's a whole list of chapbook published contests, journals, and anthologies. So you can take a look at this. They're alphabetical. Look at this. This is a beautiful, beautiful list of every place that's looking for work. And you can click right through to, oh, look, Boulevard. Boom. There you are. And you get a sense. So, oh, do you read Boulevard? I don't know. Boulevard's awesome, by the way. Oh, poetry contest for emerging poets. Hey, that might be you. So I cannot say enough positive stuff about submitting or about checking out Entropy magazine's where to submit. I want to. There's other places that also can provide a lot of helpful information, like Duotrope. So in terms of submission strategies, I want to say a couple quick things because we are running a little low on time. One, keep a lot of material out. There's a period of time a while back that I published something like 36 stories in, I don't know, like 18 months or something. But how did I do it? I mean, I worked hard on the writing. There's no shortcut to that one. But I also kept 75 things out at all times. Like it's like, even if I can't write, I mean, it's a different part. It's like, oh gosh, I don't feel like writing anything. Well, I'll be damned if I can't figure out how to put a piece of paper in an envelope. I'm also not feeling that low. So I had maybe 6 or 7 pieces. I was shopping. I made a point of sending each of those out to 15 places. Also, what this does is it emotionally, it keeps you from being insane. What do I mean by that? Well, if you have 3 things out, each one of these takes on this like very large scale significance. Oh my God, I got a rejection. 33% of what I have out there is rejected. Boom. All right, you have 100 things out there. It's like 1%. It's like, who cares? So when I taught creative writing at Penn State, I'd dump an entire Macy's bag, like huge, one of those big old Macy's bags, and it was rejections, all rejections. That all happened during, I was publishing all this work, but I was also getting a lot of rejections. I knew, and I wasn't just randomly scattershot, like everything I had didn't go everywhere. It was like 15 carefully chosen places. So that's tip 1, keep a lot of stuff out. 2, keep track of what you've got out. 3, work from one tier to the next. Think about what those tiers might look like. And there's a website I'm going to show you for that. Also, and this is going to sound a little bit weird, but punch your weight. If you're somebody who's just sort of kind of new to things and the only places you're sending to are the New Yorker, the Atlantic, Subtropics, and the Kenyan Review, like you're probably going to get you're probably not going to have a lot of luck with that. Whereas, or the Black Warrior Review, where if you are starting to look at places like, I don't know, or Plowshares is another one. But look for journals that the people who are publishing them, their bios kind of look a little bit like yours. Also, look for theme issues, because all of a sudden you've gotten rid of a lot of competition. Look for geographic restrictions. And last but not least, don't dawdle. When you don't think, oh, the submission deadline is May 31st, don't wait until May 30th to send stuff. Chances are those editors have already picked everything that they're going to take. Please remember to follow submission instructions. If they're asking for double spaced and they have 1,000 submissions and yours is single spaced, it's probably not even going to be read. So that is what I have for you guys today in terms of joining a literary community and how to submit your work with hopefully at least a higher chance of success. One more thing. I did want to talk about tiering. And I don't entirely believe in this list particularly, but it's not a bad thing to know about. Erica Krause did this ranking of 500 literary journals in tiers. And it looks like this. And I think I am sharing. So there's a bunch of stuff, but tier 1, tier 2, and there's 8 tiers that she talks about. So yeah, if you're looking at like, Virginia Quarterly Review, what do they publish? Well, it's like, if you're doing this kind of work, that's maybe a good fit. The other thing is I said about theme issues that can be your friend. Watch out for theme issues that aren't your friend. If they're doing work, that's this is a special issue on the African diaspora, and your work is all like, set in, let's just say it has nothing to do with that. But probably you don't need to waste anybody's time by sending it there. Be cognizant of to whom you're sending it. All right.